Hey guys, kia ora, whakalofa lahi atu, and no mai hoki mai. Welcome back to this week's podcast episode. I am so excited. We have a guest on the potty today, Brooke Pumare. Thank you so much for being here, sis.
Morena, sis. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yes, I'm so excited for everyone to learn more about you. We met at the Atia show with Sis Collective. We walked the runway together. You also spoke, I spoke as well. And I think we really connected on the women empowerment piece. I really loved the way that you show up. What you shared that night as well was very vulnerable, was really beautiful. And I know so many of my women will be able to relate to your story. And I really wanted to get you on because to share your story, but also to inspire them because I feel like you have transformed your fucking life. And
Yeah.
it is like inspiring to see what you have done. And if
Yeah.
women can see themselves in you and like, oh shit, she's gone through similar things that I've gone through, and look that she's come out the other side. She's been able to do these things, overcome these things, have, her dream life, all these things. Um, I think that would just be so beautiful for them to be inspired by you and be able to maybe create something similar or go for their goals and dreams. So I really wanted to get you on the podcast to inspire our audience. I love the way you show up as an Indigenous Maori woman, really like in your kaha, in your mana, like you could feel it when you hit that stage. I could really feel like just the mana behind you, the power, it's just so beautiful. So I think that's something unique that you can really bring to the podcast today. So if you want to start, I would love for you to just share a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. I am 30 years old. I'm a mama. I'm a wifey, a business owner. I'm self-employed and have been for the past 3 years. Proud Māori. I come from Te Arawa. I spent my whole life growing up in Makatu, which was a small little beach town in the Bay of Plenty in the North Island. And yeah, I grew up very much in Māoridom. So I was on the marae with all the elders. I was in the kitchen peeling hundreds of spuds and getting all the kai ready. Hospitality is everything in the Māori culture. And that was my upbringing. Like I grew up in our marae, on our lands, on our whenua, hunting, fishing, all that good stuff. But behind that as well was a lot of trauma, a lot of challenges, and a lot of pain. And sometimes those things aren't spoken about. But I truly
Mm.
believe that's what's created who I am today. And yeah, I've been able to do incredible things with my life. And I've pretty much spent the first 4.5 months of this year traveling. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a blessing to be here. And thank you so much. Like,
Mm.
I'm so honored. Everything that you're saying is so beautiful, and I'm so grateful to be here today.
Oh, I love that, sis. I love that that's the way that you were brought up as well. Like how beautiful. And I think that's probably what I can see comes out in you when you're showing up in these spaces. It's like proud, wahine toa Māori woman showing up. You speak about these challenges that you had in these spaces. So I'd love to explore that a little bit more and maybe share some of your biggest challenges that you've
Mhm.
had to overcome.
Yeah, awesome. So I would say my story may be very similar to a lot of people. It may not be, but I grew up without a father. So my father left when I was about 2 years old is what my sister has told me. I can't really remember much of him because he was never ever around. But
Mm.
he was addicted to drugs and alcohol. He spent his time hanging around the wrong crowds. And yeah, he was just an absent father. And so at that age, he left our lives and we never saw him again. From that
Mm.
time, I was raised with a beautiful, strong, single mother. And Yeah, she was my mum and dad. She's a very hard lady. I know a lot of Indigenous women, Māori women are very hard women, and she raised us on her own and she did everything that she could to give us a good life. But as a person who grew up with a broken home as well, she always seemed to bring in the same type of people. So we had a lot of men that came through our lives as well. And at a very young age, in my what I can remember is like between the age of 2 and 5, I was molested and sexually abused. And that
Mm,
broke me as a child. So I never really got to experience the innocence of childhood. I grew up with a lot of pain and a lot of self-worth issues. And yeah, I didn't know who I was the majority of my life. I had no father. I couldn't trust any male figures. And my mum was a very dominant woman, but
mm,
she was so broken, so she didn't know how to nurture and love. And I'm realizing at this age, like, I've never actually experienced a kind, soft mother figure. I've all I've
mm,
ever experienced is child abuse, anger, brokenness. She did what she had to do, and we've I'm grateful for my upbringing because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't go through those things. But it was
mm,
hard. It was a really traumatic, um, hard beginning for me and upbringing for me. But yeah, so that's kind of like the beginning of my story as a child. From that, I started dabbling with alcohol. I started dabbling with drugs. I started, you know, looking for love in all the wrong places. And I noticed that nothing was fulfilling me. And I also
mm,
noticed in that space as well that if I continue to allow this to be my life, then I'll end up where everybody else in my atmosphere will be as well. And my mum
mm,
was very poor. We grew up poor. Sometimes we couldn't eat most weeks. And we did everything that we could with what we had. And my mum would always give to other families as well. But I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted to live. And
mm,
I'll be honest, I hated that life. I had such a hard heart. I hated my surroundings. I hated the people that I was around. I hated my family. And
mm,
I know that a lot of people say, like, oh, we love our family's our strength. I didn't feel that. I know a few aunties
mm,
that empowered me and inspired me, but besides that, like, I hated my upbringing, I hated my surroundings, and I knew that I had to be the change. And so I decided at the age of 16 I was going to join the army. I was a hard hit, like I played rugby union as well, and um, I was being recognised in that space as well for being a very strong rugby player. I was making it into representative teams. So I had that fight behind me. I just had no support. I had no help. I had no encouragement. And so I knew that something needed to change. I filled up those forms for the army. I went and showed my mum, I'm going to join the army. This is what I'm going to do. And that ended up in a screaming match, and I ended up getting beaten up. And so I remember it just popped up in my head just then, but I remember, opening up that door and saying, fuck you, mum, I'm leaving. Fuck this shit. Fuck this life. And she ripped my head back in the door and she said, you're not fucking going anywhere. And so I went back into my room and I knew, like, I've got 2 years till school finishes and I've got 2 years to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I'm responsible for the choices I make, and whatever choice I make, I'll
mm.
stick to it. And so that was pretty much the beginning of a massive new awakening. um, yeah, and that empowered me to kind of shift closer to where I'm at now.
Mm, oh my goodness. What a story, babe. And like, thank you so much for sharing that so vulnerably. And the way that you share it as well was so beautiful. And it comes from a space of like healed.
Mm,
Sometimes people share from the wound, from the trauma. It's open and they're trying to
mm,
share. And for someone to share from the healed healed part of them to speak on these, like, crazy things that happened in your life, this sexual abuse. Like, I'm
Mhm.
so sorry that that happened to you, right?
Yeah.
Like getting beaten up by your mom, like how like horrible. But for
Mhm.
you to show up today and be like, this is what happened, but this, you're about to share what came from all of that. So you're like turning your pain into your power. And I'd love to know, as well, for women who are listening to your story and like, yep, I can relate to that. Like you shared about your mum, being a single mother, and men coming through the home. Similar thing with my mum. My mum really, I witnessed her really struggle to find love, and I felt like she wasn't loved from her parents. She didn't get the love that she wanted from her parents, and she was trying to search for that in men. And every man that came home, I was just like, fuck, like this is not it. And I felt like my mum chose men over me. And like you said, they do the best that they can. They're amazing freaking people for bringing up humans and all these things. All love to them, right? But how were you able to overcome these things? Like, how were you able to heal from these things, these horrible things that have happened in your life?
It's a question that I ask myself quite a lot. Like, I know that there's a lot of different things that help push me through. I love music and I love fitness, I love sports. And so, how I would cope with all of those different traumas and things that I went through is like I found communities that matched what I wanted to do. I made sure to go after my passions. So, growing up in my teen years, I remember feeling so disconnected. I had no self worth. I was trying to look for love in the wrong places. I was trying
Mm,
to, um, I guess, show myself in a way that wasn't actually me because I was hiding behind a wall. Like, I didn't want anyone to really see who I truly was,
mm,
but I wanted to show this happy, pretty picture of who Brooke is and what her life looks like. Although inside I was crumbling apart, I was falling apart. And so I would wag all my classes. Somehow I'm not too sure how I became quite intelligent and learned all the different communication skills that I have now that's helped me achieve the things I have. But I did. I wagged all my classes. I'd sneak off into the music room and I would just sing. I'd sing my heart out. I found similar people who were on the same journey, who were amazing musicians and amazing singers, amazing artists, and I'd just hang out with them. I would jam out inside the music room. I joined bands and I used to sing on stages in New Zealand when I could, well,
cool.
usually at the local pub. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was fun. And this was when I was between the ages of 16 and 18. I jumped into contact sports. So rugby helped me so much. Like, I carried so
Mm,
much anger and so much hurt and pain. And I took it out on the people on the field. And no one came to support me. And so I'd hear parents, screaming out, "Go, my daughter," or, "You're doing
mm,
amazing." Or that even once I had smashed their daughters, try to go after me. So I'd try to step them out. But that's how I found my power. I found my power
mm,
in showing what I can do on the field or releasing my creative energy. And yeah, and that helped so much growing up. But at the end of the day, I still had to go back to a broken home. I still had to
mm,
go back to poverty. I still had to go back to seeing drug and alcohol abuse. I still had to go back to the hood where there was domestic violence and everything else around me. And so yeah.
mm. Yeah. And speaking to that as well, so you talked about, you said to your mom, you're like, I'm fucking leaving, right? I'm
Mhm.
out of here. And then you had those 2 years
Yeah.
left of school. Was there a moment where everything changed? Like, when did you decide, like, yo, this is not going to be my story. I'm going to take responsibility for my life. I'm going to change. I don't want to be like everyone around me. I hate my family and what's happening right now. So I'm going to go do something else. Was there a moment in your life where you're like, fuck this, I'm out?
Yeah. So it might sound a little bit heebie-jeebie to some people, but being a Māori, it comes with a lot of spiritual sides as well.
Mm,
Um, And so because of the trauma that I went through, I was a very sensitive kid. And so I used to see spirits as a child, and I used to talk to
Mm,
spirits, and all that kind of stuff took place as a child. And so in my teen years, I was very sensitive to the supernatural, spiritual realm. And in that space, when I would drink or when I would do drugs, smoke weed and whatnot, it would kind of, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like when your mental state has been opened up by whatever it is, you're more sensitive to things, and that's when
mm,
you can kind of see things or experience things or feel things differently. And so as a teenager, I was living for the weekends. I was always living for the parties and trying to figure out what I was going to do next, or who I was going to meet up with, or what I was going to drink. And so there was an occasion where I went to a party and I was smoking weed, I was doing other things, drinking and whatnot. But I had got into such a state where what I felt is like the supernatural world opened up to me, and I was very, very sensitive to it. And that night, I felt a presence behind me, um, a massive 6 foot, 6 foot 6, 6 foot 8 presence behind me, just following me around. And I felt like that presence this entity wanted to take over me. And
mm,
that night I was shitting myself. I was walking through this party, but I knew something was following me. I knew something was after me. And that night's pretty blurry to me. But I remember when I got home, I went to sleep, I crashed out, and inside my dreams, a queer came to me, and she was whispering, oh, she was telling me, you need to stop this. This isn't the life that you
mm,
want for yourself. And the next time you get yourself to a position like this, you will be taken over. And so
mm,
in that space, I knew that, if I'm being visited by someone, or if I'm being warned that something's going to take place, I need to listen. I
mm,
can't take that lightly. And so in my dream, I knew the next time I get drugged up, the next time I get drunk off my face, it might not be me who comes back this time. And
mm,
it's not in a way of like, I don't know who that person's going to be, but it could be
mm,
if you think like that. But what I looked at it like is I'm going to lose myself completely. And most
mm,
likely, I'll end up with a drug addiction, maybe schizophrenia, maybe alcoholism, and I'll never be this innocent soul that I was before what took place. And so from there, my mind started, thinking of better ways to live my life and do better things with my life. And so that's where I tried to go for career options. They didn't work out. And so I knew that I needed to leave the country, I needed to leave my home, and I needed to get away from everything and everyone that I knew. And so that was the stepping stone that started to pivot me towards my dreams and the
mm.
next place in life.
Amazing. What a gift. Like to be able to tap into that spiritual realm and have the guides behind you, and for you to listen is like next level, because some people they don't listen. And a lot of my clients that I work with, I always tell them to trust themselves, go
Yeah.
into the intuition, the gut feelings, because that's you, but also you've got guides, you've got people looking out for you, whatever you believe in, God, all the things, right, as well, that are looking out for you. And like listen to those prompts, listen to the magic. Like that shit is magical. And
Yeah.
I truly believe, because a lot of people that I work with talk about when they have like this ability to really see things, connect with that realm, all these other things. I'm just like, what a gift. Like what a freaking gift. So thank you for sharing that. Like how freaking beautiful. I'd love to know, like one thing that keeps coming up as well is like the strength. Like you have this strength about you, and I feel like you're very aware of it as well. Where does that strength come from, do you think?
So before So I moved to the country at a very young age when my mum um, got out of a marriage, out of her relationship. And before that, we lived in Auckland. And at that time, I grew up in a church. So my nan was a worship leader. And in the church is related to a lot of trauma that took place as well.
Mhm.
But in that space as well, I got to witness God and the healing power of God. And I was
Mhm.
baptized as a child. And so despite my years growing up, I always thought God had abandoned me or God wasn't real, or I blamed God for everything that took place in my life. I thought, why me? That victim mentality. How could you do this to me? Why did you take away my dad? Why do I come from a broken home? Why am I so poor? I blamed it all on God. And I remember screaming out a lot of times how much I hated God, although He had never
Mm.
left or forsaken me. And so when I turned 18, I moved across to Australia and I was able to go back to church. And inside of that church, I remember the first sermon that was spoken was, I created you in the womb. You are wonderfully and fearfully made. And he spoke on how I've always had a father, a heavenly father who has never left my side. And in that space as well, I remember just rebelling against it. I didn't want to hear shit. My dad fucked off when I was a baby. I don't have a dad. I've never had a dad. He's never been around. And so I couldn't receive anything that was spoken to me or being
Mm.
said that day. But it touched my heart and it began to break that heart of stone, and my heart of flesh was
Mm.
coming out. And so yeah, I fought it for a good week. How, nobody's ever loved me. My father's never loved me. My mother's never loved me. And God just kept whispering in my ear, but I've always loved you. I've always been there for you. And so I would say, like, the reason why I am as strong as I am is because I know who I am in God. I know who
Mm.
created me, the creator of all things, the heavens and the earth. And He created us so perfectly. He formed us perfectly in our mother's womb. And
Mm.
although our fleshly family, they may have let us down, and they aren't perfect as well. None of us are perfect, but
Mm.
God created and formed us perfectly. And so I stand in that authority and that power, knowing who I am as a daughter of God. Yeah.
Mm. Oh my days, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so beautiful. Like when you have these moments, and when you were saying that as well, I very much throughout my life was like, my mom doesn't love me, my dad doesn't love me, because I felt very abandoned and neglected
Yes.
as a child.
Mm.
And that was one thing that I can relate on, that I, healed for myself, was knowing that there's more,
Yeah.
there's, a bigger realm. There's my spirit guides, there's my ancestors, all looking down on me like, but we're here, like we
Yeah.
got you. And
Yeah.
also like I got me as well. Like I love me. I am here for me, right? Don't abandon yourself.
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned that, and like makes sense where
Mhm.
that strength comes from as well.
Yeah.
Um Speaking to the opposite of that, like, was there ever a time, or I probably know that there was a time, where you didn't believe in yourself, and how did you build on that belief?
Yeah. So because I grew up with a lack of self-worth and abandonment issues and rejection and all those kinds of things, I worked my ass off. Like I
Mm.
learned the skill of just hustling,
Mm.
trying to earn my worth through the things that I did, the actions that I did. And so I grew up with a lot of good work ethic, but
Mm.
oftentimes I would allow myself to be used, mistreated, and abused. And I have a lot of different talents and a lot of different gifts. And so I would just pour all of my skill sets and all of my money and all of my time into everything that I would commit myself to. But I would
Mm.
always end up burnt out, left with nothing, mistreated. And so I came to a place where what would my life look like if I spun it all around and I used all of my gifts, my talents, my time, my skill sets, my money, and invested it back into myself? And in that space, I found my worth. I found how by pouring into myself, I could then pour into others. I could then help
Mm,
others. I can then do more for others. But I had to create boundaries. And, throughout my journey as well, what those boundaries meant was cutting people off. And
mm,
at the time, because I had so much empathy from the things that I went through, not wanting to hurt anyone or not wanting to anyone to feel the way that I felt, cutting people off was hard. But in that space, when I just had myself and I only had me to look up to or me to count on, is where I found how strong I actually am and how much
mm,
I can actually do and how far I can do or how far I can go when I'm not focusing on others and other people's opinions or other people's judgment. And that
mm,
kind of just took me to a whole nother level in life and opened up a whole different mindset. And it looked like personal development. It looked like investing in uh, businesses or learning opportunities. It looked like writing down every single goal, dream, uh, yeah, all of those things, and then just taking steps towards making everything happen. And the more that I showed up for myself and the more that I achieved my goals and dreams, the more I created evidence and like backed up evidence to show that I can truly do anything that I ever wanted
mm.
and I'm capable of so much more than I could ever imagine.
Yes, I love that. I love that so much. You built that evidence. Speaking of like your goals and dreams and all the things, can you kind of, in my head, I felt like we already talked about it, but I don't think you shared with everyone only because I know what you've done in the world and what you are doing and all these things. Can you talk to the part where you moved over to Australia, and then kind of what happened from there and what's evolved all the way up to like now, what your kind of your life looks like?
Yeah. So I moved over about 12 years ago now. So it's been a little while. But in my first year, because I was coming from complete brokenness. I came straight out of the ghetto. I had work ethic and I had a dream and a desire to be more, but I had no role models or, nothing to show what that might look like for a coloured skin Indigenous woman from the hood.
Mm,
And so I took steps towards getting jobs. I found 3 jobs in the first week and I just hustled. I worked my ass off, but my mindset was still poverty.
mm,
Even though I was making money and I was achieving good things and I could see amazing like holidays and travels on the horizon, I still had that poverty mindset. I still had that abandonment mindset. I was still a victim of my upbringing. And so what that led me to was running back home to see if
mm,
this was going to fix me. So in the first year, I achieved going on a massive cruise holiday. I was making
mm,
more money than I'd ever seen in my life. I was spoiling everyone around me, doing all the things that I wanted, going out, eating out, anything that I wanted. And then I ended up back in the ghetto
mm,
a year, like within that year. And so in that space, I was reminded, holy fuck, this is what I came from. And I came back to this shit. And so that
mm,
lit another fire in me. And I came back to Australia and I started again and I started that hustle again. But this time I had experience traveling and holidays. And so I locked into that and I kept doing more of it. And that was
mm,
the beginning of going on holidays, dream holidays. So from there, I was able to I've done multiple cruise ships. I can't remember how many, maybe about 4 or 5. And then
love
I've
that.
traveled all over the world, America, Australia. Oh, we're in Australia. Africa, um, Japan, to all of the islands, Tahiti, Bora Bora, all these different places.
Yes.
And this was not possible for someone like me who came from what I came from. Like I was used to being on the benefit, which is the dole here. And so, people back home, we struggled every week. As soon as payday came in, the best thing you could get was Macca's. And then
Mm.
once your Macca's feed was over, that was it. You're broke for the rest of the week. So yeah, experiencing the whole opposite life just keep lighting fires in my soul to know, wow, this is possible for me, and what more can I achieve?
Yeah. Gosh, that's so beautiful. I love that so much. And can totally relate, like from where I come from as well, being in the hood. And I remember very similarly, like when payday would come, my mum was on the benefit, and when it would come, I'd go up and I'd wait at the ATM, waiting for the money to come through. All the cars will be lined up in the
Yeah.
hood. We'd all be checking, like, is the money in yet? And I knew once I was watching the ATM and I knew, okay, money's in because everyone's cashing the money out. And I would cash the money out and I would do the groceries for my mum. And then I'd go get a Macca's like bundle feast.
Yeah.
And it was like the best freaking day to take that home to my family and like have this feed. Which is crazy now because, you know, in both of our, like we could get so much Macca's. Like Macca's is nothing now, and we
Yeah.
probably don't even go for Macca's. There's other options that we have, which is crazy.
It
Um,
is.
so I love that you mentioned that, just seeing the differences now. Um, was there actually, I'd love to speak to maybe the women who are listening right now and are like, oh my gosh, that's my life now. That's where I'm currently at. I'm on, you know, the benefit. And like no shame and stuff to people who are on the benefits. It's just like, if you know that you want more, please know that you can have more. You can have the life of your freaking dreams. So if a woman is listening to this right now and she feels stuck, she feels powerless, she feels like, yeah, cool, good for you, Brooke, but that could never happen for me. What would you say to her right now?
I would say you need to find that belief in yourself.
Mm,
And if you don't have people around you who support or love you, you need to truly and deeply love yourself. Every
mm,
flaw, every brokenness, every struggle, every pain, every trauma, you need to love yourself through it, because only once you do that, when you start looking yourself in the mirror and telling yourself how much you truly love yourself for everything that you are and everything that you've been through, because who we are in the mirror is a reflection of everything that we've ever gone through. You know, we're not just a physical being, we're spiritual, we're souls, we're so much more than our reflections. And so I would say truly find that power within you, to find belief enough to know that you are so much worthy. You're so worthy of so much more. That's what I'd say. You're worthy, you're loved, you're amazing,
yeah.
and you can do it.
Yes. Absolutely. I love that. I love that so much. I love that you speak to like we are more than like what you physically see in the mirror as well. And like, yeah, fully like self-love is where it's at. Like when you know deep down that you are worthy, it's like the way that you move throughout the world. Because I feel like the world, there's so many signs that tell you that you're not worthy. There's so many things that tell you that you're not worthy every single day. So if you keep banking that, you're going to show up as a person that doesn't feel like she's worthy. But when you know, deal with that, when you overcome that and all the things, it's like when you see these signs, when you see these things every day, maybe things on social media, on, you know, TV, all these things, it's easier for you to say, nah, that's not true. Nope, I don't believe that. Nope, you know. So I love that you mentioned that. What does empowerment mean to you? Like when we talk about women empowerment, what does that mean to you?
So for me, it would mean finding the power that's already within you. And,
Mm,
you know, we all have our own superpowers. For me, I find power in being vulnerable. Like, I find so much power in my vulnerabilities. I find so much power in my weaknesses, because I know that every step that I take towards working on that and bettering it and healing from it, the stronger that I will get, the more powerful that I will get. And so I used to be so ashamed of my life,
Mm,
of everything that I had ever gone through. I used to look myself in the mirror and hate what I saw. I was so ashamed of, the things that had happened to me as a child. I was so ashamed of not knowing what love was or not witnessing it and not being around it. And I was also ashamed of what I thought and what I witnessed was weak women who were disempowered, allowing themselves to be
mm,
abused in relationships, abused at their workplace. And by abuse, I mean, walked all over, treated like
mm,
shit, made to feel worthless. And so,
mm.
yeah, empowerment is taking back my power, taking back my authority, owning it and moving forward with it, knowing that I'm different, I'm unique, and I'm more than what I can do. It's my heart, it's what's inside that counts.
Yes, absolutely. Love that so much. And I love that you speak about women who are showing up disempowered. They're
Yeah.
showing up in these spaces where they are allowing people to kind of run the show,
Yeah.
to run their life. They're not fully taking charge of their life.
Mhm.
So for the person, because I know when I speak to a lot of my clients, they're scared. Like they're scared to take charge. There's a lot of fear to take charge, so they don't, and they never do. They don't want to feel that discomfort. They don't
Mhm.
want to make change. Um, for the woman who is like currently, she's scared in making that change. What's like the first thing you'd tell her?
It's normal. It's so
Mm,
completely normal. There's a saying like the fear of failure, or it's, everybody has so many different fears, and we
mm,
all have to work through it, or we all try to work through it. But just know you're not alone in that. Like sometimes you just have to face your fears and move forward regardless. I
yeah.
was scared. I grew up my whole life scared of my surroundings and of the things that took place to me. Like I was so afraid of this world. I was so scared of what might happen to me. I was scared of what my future might look like. I didn't have hope. I didn't have future. I didn't look forward to really anything in life. But there, I just came to this place where what happens if I do make it? That
Mm,
fear subsided and it was, but what if? What if things could change? What if my life could look better? What if I could live there? What if I could achieve those things? Who would I become? And so, if that makes sense, it's just like you just have to face those fears anyway, but you don't know what's on the other side of that. And whatever is on the other side of that could change your whole entire life.
yeah.
It could be the moment we're all waiting for.
Yeah, literally. And I love that the first thing that came out of your mouth was like it's normal. Because I didn't when I first started my journey of personal development and I started my first business, like I was so scared and
Yeah.
I didn't know that that was normal. It wasn't until I got a mentor and I was telling her I'm so fucking scared. I feel so uncomfortable. And she was like, "Yeah, and me too." Like and she was like, "And because it was a group coaching and she was like, "And these hundreds of women as well." And then the more I started talking to them, I was like, oh, so we're all feeling this. Like we're all feeling this fear. And even people at very high levels, like I watch, podcasts and
Mhm.
YouTube now, and when they get interviewed, they're like still talking about they are scared. They are still scared, but
Yeah.
they know what's on the other side of that. Like you Otherwise, what? You want to stay the same. You want to stay in a life where you're not happy, where
Mhm.
it's the same mundane shit every single day. It's like, why wouldn't you just try anyway? Like, why wouldn't you try? There's no harm in actually trying.
Yeah.
So, mm,
And what's the worst that can happen? It's like the worst that can happen is your life stays the same, or you completely change your life and you achieve everything that you ever wanted for yourself. So it's like,
mm, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Speaking of what you would tell women,
Mhm.
what would if you could go back to, like your younger self, or any time in your past, what do you wish someone had told you?
Hmm, it's a good question. I wish someone had told me that my potential is limitless. And it's a small phrase to say, but coming from the hood, growing up with nothing, not knowing what love was, my worth was zero. Like, there
Mm,
was always a limitation on everything in life. The limitation was we've got $50 to last the whole week. That's all we have. Everything was closed off to show that I could not achieve anything. I can't go beyond this. My life can't look better than this. So I wish that someone, or I could tell myself, you know, your potential is limitless. Don't
mhm.
ever put yourself in a box because you were created to break through it.
Oh, mic drop. Literally, your potential is limitless. Thank you so much for, what you've shared today, for your wisdom, for your knowledge, the energy as well. Like, I feel inspired by you in the way that you hold and carry yourself. So it has been, such a blessing. I know this is going to help so many women listening feel seen and really inspired to make those next moves to create, this limitless life.
Yes.
We're wrapping up now. I'll ask you this one last question, though. I'd love to know what's ahead for you. Like, what's the version that you, or actually, I like to say, like, what's the era that you are currently in? What are you like navigating? And then also, like, what's the next version of you? What's coming up for you? Like, all those vibes. Like, what's the future for Brooke?
Yeah, amazing. So my era at the moment is probably my empowered era. And it's me stepping out and doing all of the things that little Brooke always had dreamed and wished for her life. So, like you were saying at the RTS show, having the opportunity to do modeling, I remember growing up and wishing that, one day I wish I could be a model. I wish I could be on a stage walking the runway. I never imagined that that would be possible for my life. And so those are bucket list items that I got to tick off. I
Yes.
love fashion design. And so I'm speaking it out into existence. I'll be creating a fashion line. I'll be making
Yes.
some incredible garments. And then I've always dreamt of doing bodybuilding. And so I've locked in a date. And in 2026, I'll be doing my first bodybuilding debut. And so that's really exciting. I knew that growing up in the Polynesian community, health was always a very difficult thing. We didn't really learn much about nutrition. And so I've teamed up with Active Pacific and they're
Mm,
helping me with a nutrition plan, which is going to
love
guide me
it.
towards my dreams of becoming a bodybuilder as well. And
Yeah.
then in this empowered area as well, I've been able to achieve living in like the most beautiful area here in Darwin. So I've always wanted an ocean view. And so our balcony's got a marina view, an ocean view. We're literally right next to the water. It's in, sounds crazy, but it's in the widest area of our city. And so, there's
Mm,
mansions across the water, there's yachts everywhere. And so a poor Māori girl coming to this lifestyle is
mm.
something I could never have imagined, but it's what I get to wake up to every single day, which I'm extremely grateful for. And I'm also planning a lot more international travel for the next year. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very grateful and very humbled to be where I am and had to have achieved what I have.
Yes, let's fucking go. That's amazing. I am so gassed for you. Like I am pumped for you. Amazing. So inspiring that you are like fucking like, let's go, let's do all these things. Because these are things that you've been speaking about as well, and you're making it come true. And I'm so inspired by you being where you are because my one of my goals is to be by the beach. So I'm like,
Yes.
oh, if you can do it, I can do it
You
too,
can do it.
girl.
Yes.
I mean, I already know. I already know it's
Yeah,
happening.
it's
It's
already gonna
100%.
happen.
It's already happened. Like, I'm so excited for that. So, thank you so much. I know younger Brooke would be so freaking proud of you. I know so many are proud of you. People from back home, they'd be looking at you like, damn, like, look at this chick go. And also, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. Like I said, I already feel so inspired. I know the women listening are going to be inspired. Most of my audience are Polynesian women, and I feel like they relate a lot to my story. And I think that's why they follow me, and that's why they're part of my community. And we've got a lot of similarities in our story as well. So I know that they'll be able to feel inspired by you as well. So thank you. I know, yeah, they're going to love this episode so much. Just to close off, could you let them know where people could find you, how they can connect with you and all the things? I'm also going to link it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, amazing. So you can find me on Facebook. My name is Facebook or Instagram. My name's Brooke Formare. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you. Send me a message. Let me know you've watched the podcast. But I'm honestly so, so grateful. And I feel so privileged to have had this time speaking with you. Thank you so much for having me, sis. I'm very grateful. And I hope you have the most beautiful day. And thank you to the amazing listeners out there. I hope that you are blessed. And I hope that this inspires and encourages you to go after more in your life.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, sis. Ngā mihi nui kia koe.
I mean,